Okay, wonderful. So hi everybody and welcome to today's webinar. As I said, we'll be looking at the second unit of our Skin Aging and Aesthetic Medicine PG certificate with a focus on, as I said, an introduction to skin rejuvenation. I'll be just taking you through the introductions. I'll provide you with an agenda of the webinar and then we can, as I said, go into the details. Okay, so as I said, I'll go through a bit of an introduction, why you should be looking at studying with Manchester, and as I said, we'll look into the Unit 2 of the PG certificate. For those of you who aren't aware, we have been running a skin aging and aesthetic medicine webinar series. So we've already done 2 webinars so far, and they're available to watch back as well. So what I can do, if you haven't already received an email from myself with a link to the webinar, then please just email studyonline@manchester.ac.uk and then I can send those through to you. They're really beneficial for anyone considering studying with us. We've covered the first unit of the course, and we also did as well a webinar which provided you with a real overview of what you can expect when you study with us. Today's webinar, as always, we're probably looking at around maybe 30 minutes, and we will have a Q&A session at the end, which I know we've had feedback from students before. They've said it's extremely beneficial to them to be able to ask us direct any questions. We appreciate, you know, going back to studying is a big decision, so anything that we can do to support you with that, please do let us know. Again, the webinars are recorded, so if you are watching the webinar back, that's no problem at all. You can still email your questions to studyonline@manchester.ac.uk. Great, okay. So first of all, why study at Manchester? So the university, we consistently appear in the top ranking university lists. This is both within the UK, but also worldwide. So we are extremely well established. And our online community really is thriving. You know, we've put a lot of investment into flexible and blended learning. You know, the recent obviously pandemic has meant that a lot of learning has moved online, and we've absolutely moved with that to support our students. So online learning does not mean that you'll be learning alone. You know, you will have a thriving community and peers to interact with as well. When you do join us as a student, again, just because you are an online student, it doesn't mean that you don't have access to the amazing resources we have available. Everything is there for you, just like it would be if you're an on-campus student. So the library is a fantastic, you know, award-winning source of resource, which is again going to be available to you when you do join us. And in terms of sort of credentials, we are a leading research intensive university with 83% of our research which is ranked as world leading or internationally excellent, which is fantastic. And again, we have been around since 1824, so we are extremely well established as well. I think in particular we find that the global recognition for students is important, especially for our international students, so you can confidently, as I said, you know, say that you've studied at the University of Manchester and people will know about us. As part of today's webinar, I did mention that we are going to just do a bit of a recap on the aesthetic arena and obviously the industry itself. So as you can see from the sort of heading, why are non-surgical treatments so popular? I'm sure everybody's aware when you're looking into studying with us, it's a growing industry and it's showing absolutely no signs of slowing down whatsoever. There is an increase in demand for quick and simple treatments. Most procedures as well, as I'm sure you'll all be aware, they do require ongoing maintenance. So you'll find that patients come back to you for top-up treatments. And again, there's a greater choice of treatments on the market, which are both accessible and affordable now. So there isn't the stigma like there was, you know, when people would have cosmetic surgery, it was a big deal. You know, now it's very much, you know, you could literally nip out on your lunch to get treatments, or, you know, you've all probably heard of the terms of Botox parties. So it really has become more accessible to people and, as I said, affordable as well. With the growth in industry, and demand, you would think that regulations have moved forward with that, but unfortunately it's not. So it's still a very highly unregulated industry, and as I'm sure you're all aware, this really does put patients' well-being at risk when they are undergoing treatments. If a treatment were to go wrong, there's no real accountability, and often there's no real record of the equipment that was used on the actual patient. So it is important that we do look at raising industry standards. Those administering treatments, as I said, with the lack of regulation, they don't have to be medically trained at all. You know, somebody could literally set up a clinic in their spare room and begin administering these potentially dangerous treatments to patients. It's so much of an issue that a review on cosmetic treatment procedures was commissioned by the government, the Cure report, and that actually called the lack of regulations a crisis waiting to happen. So we do really need to focus on raising, as I said, industry standards. So why should you look at studying with us? So we aim to develop professionals with the ability to apply scientific principles and the latest evidence base to practice of skin and aesthetic treatments. The course is designed and supported by a national and international leaders in aesthetic research, regulation and clinical practice from a world-class interdisciplinary team. And as I've said before, a qualification from the University of Manchester really will give you the confidence and the knowledge and skills to practice the highest standards and in accordance with the latest techniques and guidance. As we said, our population is growing, and with that, as is the industry, it's so important that we have medically trained professionals out there for our patients, looking after patient wellbeing and helping to raise industry standards. On that note, what I'd like to do is hand over to our guest speaker today and course director, Helen Graham.
Thank you, Lisa. That's a pleasure to be here today. As Lisa said, my name is Dr. Helen Graham. I'm one of the academic course directors in Skin Aging and Aesthetic Medicine programme. My background is I'm a scientific researcher. I hold a PhD in biochemistry of the extracellular matrix, and I've actually progressed from the extracellular matrix during development through to the cardiovascular system, how it changes with age, which has also led me on to effects of age in the skin. And so I'm very much research focused, and now I've developed a really strong interest in skin aging with respect to aesthetic medicine. So I'd like to also introduce you to Professor Rachel Watson. She's another academic course director, and she's the unit lead for this rejuvenation unit. Professor Watson is a professor of cutaneous science and leads a large research group in dermatology, and she's on the editorial board of 3 scientific journals and section editor for British Journal of Dermatology. And we have a clinical director, Dr. Tamara Griffiths, who is an honorary lecturer here at the University of Manchester and clinical director of the programme. Dr. Griffiths is also a consultant dermatologist at Salford Royal NHS Foundation Trust. Dr. Griffiths was really instrumental in setting up this programme and the master's programme, that's the sister of this programme. She represented the UK in the European Standards Group and was key advisor to the review for cosmetic interventions, which was led by Sabrif Kiyo in 2013. She's also led the subsequent educational frameworks that were mandated to Health Education England, parts 1 and 2, and that was published in 2016, and it really provides that sort of structural framework for those practitioners in clinical medicine and aesthetic medicine to be able to make sure that their training is appropriate for the treatments that they're doing. Okay, so this course is actually aligned to that training framework, so Dr. Griffiths has been instrumental in both. She's also a founding member and current trustee of the CPSA, so the Cosmetic Practice Standards Authority, recognised as a professional body responsible for setting the standards in this arena. and she's also a founding member and past president of British Cosmetic Dermatology Group. So our faculty here are really keen on making sure that we're involved in increasing those standards, raising those standards in the aesthetic arena. Okay. So dermatology at Manchester is the centre for this programme, and the dermatology research is based in the internationally renowned Centre for Dermatology at the University of Manchester, and recent RAND analysis commissioned by the NIHR showed that this ranks first in the UK for dermatology citation impact. So it's a really active research group. And we work in really close partnership with Dermatology Centre at Salford Royal Foundation Trust Hospital. So we conduct our clinical trials in dermatology research at this centre. Okay. So let's look at the entry requirements for this PG Cert in skin ageing. We ask for a medical degree or overseas equivalent, so an MBCHB or MBBS, from an institution that's recognised and approved by the GMC, or a dental degree, BDS or LDS, or international equivalent, again, that's recognised by the GDC. We also ask that nurse prescribers have the V300 course and are registered as an IP with the NMC. Okay. So this PG Cert has 4 units, and you can take 4 units within a year, and each lasts for 10 weeks. So the first unit is really the fundamentals of skin ageing. So this is the first unit, and we aim to provide that fundamental knowledge around the skin, so the structure and the molecular composition, so that we can understand how the skin ages at a molecular level before we start looking at the topical treatments. Skin Rejuvenation is the next unit, again, the last 10 weeks, and really we're taking our knowledge of the skin to look at how the topical treatments, the mechanisms of action, and how to choose the appropriate treatment for the indications you see with skin aging. Unit 3 is injectables. So this unit is obviously looking at the toxins and the dermal fillers, but not only are we looking at where to treat and how to treat, but also making sure that we understand the danger zones, how to safely practice, how to manage any adverse events and what to be aware of, as well as all the aftercare. And the 4th unit is laser and light-based therapies. And again, we look at the different treatment modalities and indications that are relevant to these different laser treatments. Okay. Okay, so what we want to focus on today is the Skin Rejuvenation unit. So the overall aim of these units is to really provide you with a deeper understanding of how these treatments work. And not only that, we want to make sure that you've got the tools to be able to critically appraise the studies which are describing any new therapies. So we want you to look at those new treatments and say, okay, are these studies relevant? Are they randomized control trials? How have they been developed? And do I believe that the evidence is there? So we want you to basically learn the tools to be able to critically appraise those studies so that you can make those decisions moving forward. Okay, so in this particular unit, we want you to understand the basic science of the skin and therefore what the molecular mechanisms are behind the treatments. And we want you to understand how to assess the skin, so facial assessment and the consultation process. So this unit is broken up into these sections. We'll cover facial assessment and looking at how the morphology of the face changes with age. We'll go through that consultation process and making sure that the patient is fully consented. We'll look at the different indications for skin rejuvenation, and then look at some of the treatments and how they work, what the mechanisms of action are. So, for example, retinoids and topical agents. We'll look at chemical peels, microneedling, and microdermabrasion. Okay, so as I said before, what we want you to do is to really be able to appraise the evidence for any emerging treatments. So each time a new treatment comes on the market, you need to be able to understand the studies that have been done to support the use of that particular therapy, and we want you to be able to make the decision of whether you believe the evidence is robust enough for you to implement that in your practice. So we ask you to engage and demonstrate that by appraising, critical appraisal of studies and research papers. Okay, so one of the assessments is looking at emerging treatments, and another one is a mock video consultation of how you would take a patient through a particular consultation for a particular treatment. So in order to help you with that, we've got a number of resources to help you. We've got library resources, we have video lectures that you work through, we have recommended reading. We also help you with, we have study resources around academic writing and phrase books and how to use referencing and so on. So the study tools are embedded in each of the units, which you can access as you're working through it. Okay, so we do get asked how long you need to devote to this, to each unit. So we really recommend you should allow for about 15 hours study per week. So maybe an entire long day, or you could divide it up into 2 hours a day, but it's up to you how you do it, because all of the resources are online and you can work through them in your own time. You just need to make sure that you meet the deadlines for the assessments, which will be the assignments that are demonstrated at the start of the unit. So what we ask you to do is, at the start of the unit, you log on and you meet all of your other study peers. And so we ask you to just introduce yourself so you know who you're working with. And then after that point, it's up to you to work out how you work through the unit yourself and watch those video lectures and do the reading. And make sure that when there's discussion groups that you try and interact with those discussion groups. Okay, all right, we'll hand over to you, Lisa.
Wonderful, thank you so much, Helen. I hope everybody found that informative, with regards to Unit 2. As always, we do want to hear from you guys. If you've got any questions, I can see we've had a couple come through already on the chat function, so thank you very much. As I said, if you are watching the webinar back, don't worry, you can still submit any questions for Helen. Just send them through to myself, and that's just studyonline@manchester.ac.uk. And I said I can put those questions to both Helen and Rachel. Okay, let's see, so what have we got so far? Okay, so I've got a question here, and it's just, can I join the course at any stage and at any unit? I know we come across this quite a lot, Helen, don't we?
Yeah, so what we ask is the first unit, which is fundamentals of skin aging, is a prerequisite. So that means we ask everybody to take this unit, and it provides that basic fundamental of an understanding of the structure and function of the skin and the molecular components. So that will really give you a good foundation for all the other clinical units after that. Okay, once you've completed that fundamentals of skin aging unit, you can select any of the others. So obviously they're released at different times, so you'd have to make sure you chose the right time for you, but you can then choose to do lasers, then skin rejuvenation, and then injectables in that order if you wanted to, but you just obviously have to look at when they're being released, or you could also do them back to back, it's fine.
Wonderful, thanks, Helen. Again, we've just had another question come through as well, just in regards to practical days. I know we get asked this again quite a lot with regards to a practical element to the PG certificate. Could you please just explain that, why we don't have that on this course?
Can you just, I'm really sorry, I just dropped out then. Could you repeat that? Sorry.
Yeah, of course. It was just in regards, I'd say, to the practical elements of the course. We've had a question just come through from one of our prospective students just asking about, are there any practical days, which I know I said is something we do come across with the PG certificates.
Okay, thank you for that. Yeah, thanks for repeating it as well, Lisa. So this course is fully online, so there are no practical elements. So the aim of the programme is to make sure that you're provided with the knowledge base and the ability to practice the evidence-based medicine, and to be able to critically appraise any new therapies and new studies. So we don't have any face-to-face hands-on practical sessions. So what we do integrate into the programme is video demonstrations of the different procedures. But yeah, there isn't a live face-to-face clinical practical session for this programme. It's knowledge, it's the knowledge base that we want you to have. So a lot of our applicants are seeking this because they want to go into aesthetics, but they don't feel they have the confidence and the knowledge to be able to really to know how to start. So this is what we want to give to you before you start practicing, or you might be practicing already but feel like there's a gap in your knowledge.
Wonderful, thanks Helen. That actually links on quite nicely to another question we've had, just in regards to how do we interact with yourself, Rachel, and other students on the course as well. I know we sort of touched on it briefly, but if you could please expand on that.
So we have, we really try, maybe I should have mentioned this a bit in more detail earlier, but thank you for asking it, because it's a good, it's a really good question. So what we want you to do is to interact with each other as well as the tutors, and so we have a number of different means for you to do that. So we embed the interactivity into our units by having group discussion forums, and it might be that you're discussing a paper, or you might have a Padlet activity where you put some everybody chooses a paper and they to let the others know what they've discovered, or we might just be watching a demonstration, and then you can comment on the thread below that. So that's interaction with your peers. We also have tutorials, two tutorial sessions which are synchronous, so live tutorial sessions over Zoom or the equivalent in Blackboard, where the group, the course students all gather together at the same time as the tutor, and we have a discussion over a particular topic. And there's also obviously the feedback that you get for your assignments is provided, and you can reflect on that as well. So there's a number of ways that we can interact.
Wonderful, thank you, Helen. I can see I've had another question through just in regards to somebody asking about doing the English language test, the IELTS, and also being GMC registered. Anne-Breen, I think we've been emailing with regards to that already. If you are GMC registered, you should be able to provide us with your number and when you submit your application, because when you actually registered to the GMC, you should have also been required to take an English language test, which should suffice with our admissions team. But as I said, I know we've been emailing, so if you do want to send anything through to me, I can certainly have a look at that for you. But as I said, if you when you register with the GMC, there's usually the requirement to do the English language test, which, as I said, it would be absolutely fine for our admissions team if you have that. Just make sure you add your GMC number to your application. I can see we've got another question just in regards to course start dates. So our next start date, intake date, is September, isn't it, Helen? Someone's asked if they could join the February course, but it's not, it's just September we're looking at.
Yeah, so we are running a course now, but the next Fundamentals of Skin Aging, which is the prerequisite, which means it's the first one that we ask everybody to do before they take any others, is that the next launch date for that is September 2021. Okay, so that would be the first time we could take on new starters. If you already had Fundamentals of Skin Aging completed, you would be able to jump into the other units that are running now.
Wonderful, thank you, Helen. Just to sort of link onto that as well, as we are now accepting applications for our September 2021 start date. It's an extremely popular course. Please don't sort of wait to submit your application or put it off sort of closer to the time. Just to secure your application, as I said, maybe look at completing it sooner rather than later. As I said, I'm here to support you with that. So if you've got any questions in regards to what you should submit or anything you want to talk through, please do let me know. We've also got our admissions team as well. So if you do submit an application and they need to speak with you or request any additional details, they'll contact you direct with that as well. So there's lots of support available to talk you through the application process. But as I said, I really do need to sort of stress that the course is already, we're already receiving a number of applications, which is fantastic, but equally we just want to make sure that anyone keen to apply doesn't sort of leave it till August time. As I said, you can absolutely start applying today if you'd like to. Any questions, as I said, you can still just email to me. I'm on studyonline@manchester.ac.uk. But looking at it, I think that's all our questions for today. For anyone, as I said, I will send the recording of the webinar over to everyone. So, you know, if you need to watch it back and you think of anything else you're unsure of, please, as I said, just let me know and I can put that through to Helen. But I definitely thank you so much for today, Helen. That's really informative session. We hope you've enjoyed it, and as I said, we'll be running our next webinar, I think it's next month, and again we'll send you some information through with regards to the date for that, and again just secure your place sooner rather than later. But yeah, on behalf of everyone, thank you so much for joining us today, and we look forward to speaking to you soon.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.